In the late 16th century, the world stood on the brink of a massive conflict that would shape the future of Europe. Spain, the most powerful empire of the time, ruled vast territories across the Americas, the Philippines, and much of Europe. King Philip II, devoutly Catholic, saw himself as the defender of the faith, and England, under the rule of Queen Elizabeth I, had become a Protestant stronghold, defying Catholic dominance. The tension between Spain and England had been building for years, driven by religious differences, economic competition, and acts of piracy against Spanish treasure ships. The English, under the leadership of daring privateers like Sir Francis Drake, had been plundering Spanish fleets carrying gold and silver from the New World. Fueling English prosperity and enraging Philip II, for Philip, the breaking point came in 1585 when Elizabeth officially supported the Protestant rebellion in the Spanish-controlled Netherlands. England was no longer just an annoyance, it had become an open enemy. The Spanish king, convinced that he was carrying out God's will, decided to launch an ambitious invasion, the Spanish Armada. The plan was simple but audacious: assemble a massive fleet, sail to the Netherlands to pick up seasoned Spanish troops, and then launch an invasion of England. With its superior military might, Spain believed England would fall quickly, restoring Catholic rule. The Spanish Armada set sail in May 1588. A fleet of 130 ships carrying nearly 30,000 men. It was the most powerful naval force the world had ever seen. But from the beginning, the mission was plagued with problems. Storms delayed the fleet, supplies ran low, and communication between the ships was difficult. Meanwhile, the English Navy, though smaller, was agile, better armed, and led by skilled commanders like Sir Francis Drake and Admiral Lord Howard. As the Armada sailed through the English Channel, the English launched daring hit-and-run attacks, using their faster ships to inflict damage while avoiding full engagement. The Spanish formation, a massive crescent, was designed for defense, but the English tactics slowly began to wear them down. Then came the night of August 7, 1588, in the port of Calais. The Spanish Armada had anchored to wait for the Duke of Parma's army, but the English saw an opportunity. They sent 8 fire ships-old vessels filled with pitch and gunpowder into the Spanish fleet. As the blazing ships drifted toward them, panic spread. Spanish captains cut their anchor lines to escape, breaking their tight formation. Now scattered and vulnerable, the Armada faced a relentless English attack off Gravelines. With superior cannons and expert seamanship, the English bombarded the Spanish ships from a distance, avoiding close combat where the Spanish excelled. The Spanish, unable to regroup, suffered heavy losses. Their once mighty fleet was now crippled. Defeated but not entirely destroyed, the Spanish Armada was forced to retreat north, around Scotland and Ireland, to return home. But nature delivered the final blow. Powerful storms battered the remaining ships, wrecking many against the rocky shores of Ireland. Thousands of Spanish sailors drowned, while others who made it to land were captured and executed. Of the original 130 ships, barely half limped back to Spain. The failure of the Armada was a turning point in history. Spain, though still a great power, never fully recovered from the defeat. England emerged stronger, its naval supremacy now established. Queen Elizabeth's reign was solidified, and Protestant England would go on to build an empire of its own. The battle was not just a clash of fleets but a defining moment in the struggle for religious and political dominance in Europe. The defeat of the Spanish Armada was not just a military victory, it was the beginning of a new world order. The consequences of the Armada's defeat were profound, reshaping the balance of power in Europe. For Spain, the loss was a severe psychological and financial blow. Philip II, who had once commanded the greatest empire in the world, was humiliated. Though Spain remained a dominant force for some time, its aura of invincibility was shattered. The staggering cost of the Armada's failure, coupled with Spain's ongoing wars in the Netherlands and against the Ottoman Empire, drained its resources. The defeat marked the beginning of Spain's slow decline as the leading European power. The myth of Spanish naval supremacy was broken, and with it, the dreams of a Catholic reconquest of England faded. For England, the victory was more than just a military success, it was a defining moment in national identity. Elizabeth I's leadership was celebrated, and the triumph was seen as a divine endorsement of Protestant England. The defeat of the Armada reinforced the idea that England was protected by Providence, a belief that would influence its expansionist ambitions for centuries. The victory also solidified England's reputation as a formidable naval power, a status that would grow in the coming centuries, culminating in the British Empire's dominance of the seas. The psychological impact on Europe was immense. Protestant nations saw the victory as a sign that Catholic hegemony was weakening, inspiring resistance against Spanish influence. The Netherlands, engaged in a long war for independence from Spain, gained renewed hope. France and other European powers took note, realizing that Spain was not the unstoppable force it had once seemed. The defeat of the Armada contributed to the gradual shift in power dynamics, paving the way for the rise of other European empires. Despite the loss, Spain attempted to rebuild its naval strength, launching subsequent armadas in the following years. However, none would achieve what Philip II had envisioned. The English, now confident in their naval superiority, continued to challenge Spanish dominance, engaging in piracy and expanding their influence across the Atlantic. The seeds of the British Empire were planted in the waters of the English Channel, where a smaller, more agile fleet had outmaneuvered the greatest armada of its time. The story of the Spanish Armada's defeat has been told and retold for centuries, often romanticized as a tale of English resilience and divine intervention. While the reality is more complex, involving strategic miscalculations, weather conditions, and superior English tactics, the outcome remains one of history's most significant turning points. It was a clash that altered the course of European history, setting the stage for the decline of one empire and the rise of another. The echoes of that battle can still be felt today. The notion of naval supremacy as a cornerstone of global power was reinforced by the events of 1588. The idea that smaller, more technologically advanced forces could overcome larger, more traditional armies became a lesson repeated in military history. And the belief that fate, weather, and sheer determination could shape the destiny of nations remains a powerful reminder of the unpredictability of war. Ultimately, the Spanish Armada's defeat was not just about ships and cannons, it was about the shifting tides of history. It was a moment when empires collided, when ideologies clashed, and when the course of the world changed forever. England's rise, Spain's decline, and the new balance of power in Europe all stemmed from that fateful campaign. The storm that scattered the Armada was not just a force of nature, it was a force of history, reshaping the world in ways that would be felt for centuries to come.